Okay, I think you all should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone, my name is Malini and I am a PM here at Splunk. Before we get started um, talking about all things Splunk ideas, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm sure you guys have all seen this before, but just a forward-looking statement in case we talk about any ideas, which we probably won't have much time to get to. So just a quick introduction about myself. Again, my name is Malini. I've been at Splunk for about 2.5 years now. I started way back in 2019 as an intern and then joined back full time right before the pandemic. Um, I've been on a few teams here at Splunk and most recently the Splunk Ideas team for about a year and a half, and I'm based in San Francisco, California. So just a quick agenda on what we'll be covering today. So I'm going to be doing a quick overview on Splunk Ideas and what the program is about, and take you through kind of the behind the scenes of what happens when ideas get submitted by customers like you all, and how we use analytics to prioritize the ideas that you guys are submitting. So we'll have some time for feedback at the end or questions, but if you have anything, feel free to just interrupt me as we go through the presentation. Um, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Splunk Ideas, it is our customer enhancement request platform. So we've been live for over 2 years. I think Ideas was born in February of 2020, and um, it allows all our customers to be able to submit ideas, vote on ideas, and really discuss any sort of ideas and enhancement requests that they have for all of our GA products. And since the 2 years that it's been up and running, we've had an amazing level of engagement from our community. These stats are about a month old, so we get a ton of submissions every month, so they're just a little bit outdated. These are from November, but over 5,000 ideas submitted, over almost 140,000 votes, over 4,000 comments, and over 7,000 unique users from all of our customer bases. And within the 2 years, these are just some of the metrics to prove what we've kind of accomplished through the Ideas platforms and what we've shipped. We've triaged and reviewed almost 2,000 ideas and completed over 200. I think that number is sitting at about 230 within at around the beginning of December. So a lot of great ideas that have just been submitted by you all and actually built into our product. And we have about 270 in a roadmap phase, so something that's coming up within the next 2 years, either planned or actually in development right now. Some of the idea highlights from 2022, so I'm sure you might be familiar with some of these. These are the most voted ideas that have been shipped this year, including the backport fix for SVD from the 9.0 release and the change in our wording across our docs and in terms of the actual product from taking out some of those words of the problematic words that we have in our enterprise product. Some of the other notable ideas that you see here are related to SNMP monitoring and from enterprise security. And as you can see, you can go into the platform and vote on these ideas or vote on ideas like this as well at ideas.splunk.com. So kind of getting into the meat of the presentation, what actually happens when you all submit an idea and what are we doing behind the scenes to kind of go through and triage these ideas? So there's a lot of moving parts in the process and a lot of people involved. So once you've submitted an idea, we do a daily review with our community team to make sure there isn't any sensitive information, making sure it kind of makes sense at a high level, and make sure that our community guidelines are followed. So this happens on a daily basis with both ideas and comments. And again, we just don't want any PII or any sensitive information that's out there on the portal publicly. And once that's done, we have a super secret algorithm that we use to actually choose the top ideas. And there's a variety of kind of cohorts and grading criteria that we use to allocate kind of what group gets what vote, and I'll go into that in just a second, but that's pretty much how our top ideas get prioritized. And this gets done every month where we run the algorithm. So this is just an example of some of the input channels. So this is what we look at, the total number of votes, the number of unique customers voting, priority customers, and advisory groups. We also look for, Splunk Trust members, and our PMs have the ability to customize the thresholds that they want for each of the categories that they own. And like I said, this algorithm gets run every month to generate the top ideas for each category. And PMs have a specific number of ideas that they're allowed to be allocated every quarter. Some PMs own multiple categories, so the ideas may span all those categories. Yeah, any questions on this so far? This is kind of the meat of what actually chooses the top ideas every month. Okay. Now, before it actually goes into the gating criteria, we also try to do our best in triaging the ideas. And what we mean by that is making sure there aren't duplicate ideas, or if there are duplicate ideas, we take time to merge it. We also tag them to internal initiatives and objectives. We look for clarity in the idea. Sometimes, when you're submitting an idea, we want it to be in sort of a use case format, so our PMs can easily translate that into their backlog and get more information from the submitter or people who have voted on the idea. So that also often happens where you might be reached out through your account team to get clarity on an idea that you've submitted. And once it's been assigned to a PM, it'll have the status of under consideration. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these statuses, but this is kind of where we're sitting at right now in the process. It's been assigned to a product manager, and every quarter, they're expected to review the ideas that have been assigned to them, and they have the freedom to update the status accordingly to any of the statuses that you see on the screen here. So as you can see, this relates to some of the statuses I showed you earlier in terms of the completed ideas that we saw, but you'll see a ton of ideas that are in these different statuses on ideas.splunk.com, and these are kind of the approximate timelines that it's referring to when it's in these statuses. What we do with the data that we're collecting or kind of bringing in from Splunk Ideas is really trying to drive a data-driven decision process within Splunk for our product managers, and we provide them with a lot of contextual data that supplements the actual idea. So, looking at what kind of customers are voting, ERR, the total number of votes, insights from customer success, any lost opportunities, and how involved certain customers are within our processes, whether it's advisory boards or within our Splunk Trust, et cetera, things like that. So some frequently asked questions that we get: when can I expect an idea to get shipped? For legal reasons, we cannot expose specific deadlines, so that's why we stick to the statuses that you see. But if something is in development or planned status, it means it's coming in the future. And I can refer back to the slides and share these broadly with you all as well. But we try to update the statuses as an idea is progressing in the development cycle. So if you want to see all the ideas that people at your company have submitted as a whole, or if you're just curious as to what you've submitted maybe in the past, your account team has access to pull that information for you. We've built internal tools so that account teams can track ideas that their customers have been submitting. So this is something that we can definitely get to you, and feel free to reach out to me as well if you need some help doing that. Why has my idea been under consideration for so long? I think that's probably a really common question that we get, and it's PMs are busy and they get assigned a ton of ideas. I think on average we assign about 15 ideas a quarter, so we're looking at, let's say, about 60 a year minimum. So we've kind of launched internal processes such as automated bots to ping ping our PMs to remind them. And we're seeing a lot of improvement within that process. So stay tuned. It's kind of something that we're working on. And it's one of our big goals for next year is to really get responses out to customers who have submitted ideas. And we've taken a lot of actions and internal tools to kind of help with that process. And if you're curious on how to engage with myself or the rest of the Ideas team, we do have a channel on the user group. It's called #Ideas, and you can message me there. We're pretty good at monitoring it, or you can also message me on the Slack channel itself individually as well. Just to talk about the few things that are coming up, we're really looking to drive some of the engagement with ideas and also kind of make it less of a black hole for some of our customers who are submitting ideas and not really understanding what's happening behind the scenes. We've recently started launching some newsletters. We launched one earlier right after .conf. That was authored by Garth, our Chief Product Officer, talking about some of the big features that were launched through Ideas. And we have one coming up soon as well. So aside from that, we're driving some communication posts in the Slack channel. So if you want to hear about what's been shipped or what's kind of in progress or just get general status updates, the Slack channel is the place to be. So we'll be sending out one in the new year just to talk about what we've closed out in the last year. We're looking to develop some customer champions to really improve our ideas process as a whole. So if you're interested in talking to me more about kind of your experience with ideas and what you're looking to get out of it, feel free to reach out again. I have my email coming up in the next slide, so I'm happy to schedule some time to talk to you individually about that. And like I alluded to earlier, we're really trying to drive up the response rates from our PMs and kind of get you guys answers to ideas and just status updates in general. So through a process of automated bots and reminders that we have internally, we're hoping to drive that number up. So hopefully you'll see some more engagement from our teams on the ideas that you've submitted. And like I said before, we do want to hear your voice. So we do have some up and coming items that we're working on relating to our customer roadmap. This is something that one of my teammates is working on the roadmaps team, and we're interested in publishing a roadmap on the Splunk website that's available to all our customers that have an NDA. So if you have some time to just scan this QR code, and I can send this out to you as well. But again, this would allow you to see timeframe for features coming up, regional availability and compliance information, and view what's coming up on the roadmap on demand. So the survey is just to kind of gauge some feedback on what you're expecting or what you would like to see in a feature like that. So we'd love to hear from you. And I'll send this out to everyone after. And lastly, if you do have ideas, again, ideas.splunk.com is the place to submit them. We're actively, again, triaging them almost every day and going through them. And if you have any specific questions on ideas in general or just want to engage with our team, be sure to join the #Ideas group. It's #Ideas channel in the Splunk user group. And I have my email there again if you're interested in talking to us about becoming customer champions for ideas. Or just providing more in-depth general feedback. So yeah, I think that's it for me. I'll pause to take any questions. Oh, my last name is Mahesh.
Hey, this is pretty interesting.
Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going to say, Specky, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So with ideas, you have so many votes, right, on ideas? Mm-hmm. And if an idea is implemented, do you get back those votes?
I don't think it automatically does it, but you can take back votes for any ideas that have shipped. So on the ideas portal, yeah, unfortunately, it's not automated. We actually don't. It's not a native platform that we built. We use a system called AHA that actually powers the back end of the portal. So we have a little bit of limited scope at times. So unfortunately, we can't do that automatically.
Okay, I was just wondering how that worked.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll share their slide deck with everyone in the chat. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about ideas with you all.
Yeah, sure. Does anyone else have any other questions before we go to Soleil?
Is there a way to post questions for the ideas? Like if you have an ideas for ideas, for example, there's no place to ask about or post ideas for training stuff, or is that not the focus of
Okay.
it?
No, yeah, there's actually under the community category, there's an Splunk Ideas category that you can submit ideas into. So we review those for our team itself.
Okay, great.
Yeah, let me know if you're having trouble finding it, but it should be under community and Splunk Ideas.
I think it's really cool that you hang out in the Slack channel for ideas. I think that's great.
Yeah, we're trying to do a better job moderating it. So we're going to be posting kind of quarterly updates on what's been shipped and what's coming up so that everyone's, kind of aware of what our teams are working on.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I saw that you, that the number one thing was when people wanted the security fix backported. I was thinking that was definitely a tremendous response for ideas. I was thinking that's where ideas really came into play, because I know as a customer, we all wanted the thing to be backported, not to be just fixed in 9.0.
Yeah. I mean, really, the purpose of it is to serve as a voice for all of our customers equally, and allow you all to submit all the amazing ideas that you've had. I think a lot of our products incorporate customer feedback directly, and it's just a platform where everyone can kind of see everyone's thoughts and just engage with the community in a different way. So yeah, excited to see all of your ideas after this. So yeah,
sounds good. Okay, Soleil, do you want to go forward and talk about data manager?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll just share my screen. All right, I believe you all can see my screen now.
Yes, thanks.
And let's see. Slideshow. Okay, perfect. Hey all, my name is Soleil Shah. I'm a PM in Splunk, especially focusing on cloud data ingestion. And today I'm here to talk about our new product called Data Manager, which launched earlier this year. Before I jump in, same forward-looking statement. We have a few things in the presentation which are coming soon. So just to call it out that there are no hard timelines here, but this is for information that we're working on. All right, so Data Manager. Data Manager is a product we launched earlier this year in the month of March, I believe. It is specifically built to simplify and provide an extremely easy user experience for ingesting cloud data sources like AWS, Azure, GCP, and many more to come in the future. Of course, we will probably extend this product to even ingest other type of data, not just cloud data, but at least right now the focus is on cloud data ingestion. And this product is only available to Splunk Cloud customers, today specifically to Splunk Cloud customers who have chosen AWS as their provider. And we already have support for a lot of critical data sources in AWS, in Azure, in GCP that you can ingest using Data Manager. And generate insights in Splunk, do some search queries on the data that comes in by Data Manager. So you can already do that, and we already have like a lot of customers live using Data Manager in production. Now, before I talk more about what specifically Data Manager supports today, the key capabilities, how you configure it, some context on why we actually went and built Data Manager. So we heard from a lot of customers, even before Data Manager was launched, that Splunk did have, of course, solutions to provide or ingest cloud data. However, a lot of customers were not too happy about how the experience and the simplicity of actually ingesting it, because there were several solutions you had to use. There was no like one-stop shop that customers could use to ingest cloud data across cloud providers. You had to typically have a combination of multiple cloud add-ons, right? Community add-ons, Splunk build add-ons, and sometimes even customers wrote their custom pipelines, built their custom pipelines to push data to Splunk. Now, of course, all those things work. Those things have been there for a while. The challenge was that not every single customer out there was an expert in cloud, right? Specifically multiple cloud providers, and not everybody had the expertise to build a team, to even do that. And people were just basically looking for a consistent, a simple way of doing it, rather than having like a plethora of solutions at their disposal to ingest cloud data. Which is where we got this feedback, and we worked on that feedback, and that's how Data Manager came into existence. So what Data Manager really does for you is basically, one is it's a cloud native experience. It's built on the cloud. It's built for the cloud customers. So it has a modern UX, a lot of automation. The focus was heavily on automation. Like, how do we simplify things so that you don't really require that level of cloud expertise to even configure and set up data ingestion using Data Manager, and of course, simplicity. One of the key challenges that we heard from customers was that it took a lot of time for customers, sometimes even weeks or months, to correctly set up cloud data ingest, right? Which actually conforms with what the cloud provider recommends. And testing that and making sure everything is working fine took a lot of time. The goal was, with Data Manager, was to bring that time to value. Like, how do you get to your insights quickly? And not worry about configuration of the ingest. So the Data Manager, we basically brought down that time from weeks or months to minutes, where you can easily configure with some basic configuration steps, like providing some basic inputs of your cloud environment, and then we provide you like a template which you can run in your cloud environment to set up the necessary infrastructure for ingesting cloud data. This also, removed the data source complexities, because the focus was heavily on automation, making sure that as far as possible we can be consistent across cloud providers. So even if you're using like AWS or Azure or GCP, the process is not too different, and the experience remains consistent. And essentially providing you a one-stop shop for a centralized data management experience, right? Where the Splunk admin only has to go to this one central place, which is Data Manager, whether they are ingesting AWS data or onboarding Azure data, or onboarding GCP data, and many others in the future. So what that gave customers really is, if you are onboarding anything with Data Manager, all you have to do is basically, if it's AWS, we provide a CloudFormation template that you can run in your environment, to set up the underlying infrastructure, which helps to push data from your AWS environment to Splunk. If it's Azure, we provide like a PowerShell script which you can run, and then for GCP, we provide data from template which you can run. But essentially, the idea remains the same, where you configure some basic prerequisites, provide some bare minimum inputs like account ID and your some data source information, what regions you want to be on. And then, we generate these templates which you can just take and run in your cloud environment. And then once everything is configured, you come back to the same section in Data Manager, which is called Data Management, where you see your configured inputs. Hey, this is for AWS. This is how much we are ingesting. This is for Azure. This is for GCP. And then you can troubleshoot and search on your data coming in from the same place. So it becomes that centralized way to manage and maintain your ingest. Now, talking about some key capabilities that we already have in Data Manager, one is, of course, we already have the ability to ingest a lot of AWS data sources, quite popular amongst customers, such as Guard Duty or Security Hub, IAM Access Analyzer, Credentials Report, CloudTrade, CloudWatch, VPC flow logs. These are all possible today. You can generate insights related to your security posture, threat detection, auditing, based on ingesting these data sources. A complete automation of, AWS prerequisites. What we essentially do is, as I mentioned, we provide a CloudFormation template. Once you provide the inputs, and you can take that template and either give it to your cloud admin, or if you have access, you can run the template by yourself in your AWS environment and set up the necessary infrastructure required to push data to Splunk. And finally, of course, we have proactive health checks, and you can also apply tags to your AWS resources that are going to be created in this process for pushing data to Splunk. So that's already available. Another popular request from customers, which is already present today in Data Manager. So that's about AWS. Similarly, we also have the ability to ingest some key Azure data sources today. And of course, these are just what's possible today. We are going to continuously add more capabilities and features in the future. But what we can do today with Azure is, we can ingest, Azure Active Directory and activity logs, basically generating insights related to sign-in activities, critical alerts related to any changes happening to your Azure resources, system activities related to user groups, applications, and then eventually giving you complete visibility into your the health status of your critical Azure resources. So all these things are possible today with Azure as well. Similarly, like AWS, you can also add tags to the resources we create, for Data Manager in your Azure environment, which just makes it easier for you to track your resources, to group your resources, and so on. And for Azure, once you set up or configure Azure in Data Manager, you generate a PowerShell script, which you can just run using the PowerShell wizard in Azure, and then it just spins up all your resources in no time, and data starts flowing in. And not too long ago, we also added the ability to ingest critical GCP data sources. So you have the audit logs or access transparency logs, giving you a lot of visibility into security events. And then we can also do this at a scale, right? So we have support for or close integration with the GCP organization structure. So you can easily onboard hundreds of projects and folders at the same time and start ingesting data from those very quickly. And for GCP, we use Terraform to deploy the GCP resources automatically, and then the data starts flowing into Splunk. So these are the three key capabilities we already have today. Coming soon is support for S3 in AWS. So if you're interested in using if you have say CloudTrail logs or access logs stored in your S3 buckets, and if you want to ingest these logs into your Splunk environment, then we're coming out with a new cloud-native solution where you won't have to actually deploy any infrastructure on your cloud environment. It's a pull-based technology, so we have our connector in the cloud, which will go and pull data from your S3 buckets, and then it will put this data in Splunk, and then you can easily access it from there. So this is coming pretty soon. So common questions I get from customers is, hey, we already have the cloud TAs which do a lot of these things. Do cloud TAs work in conjunction with Data Manager, or how does that work? So yeah, I mean, cloud TAs definitely are there, not going away. On-prem customers will always need the cloud TAs. But the idea is that the cloud TAs, whatever data sources they support, the goal is that we quickly get to parity with the cloud TAs in Data Manager as well. So in the future you see more and more parity and Data Manager getting close to what cloud TAs support as well. So yeah, you don't need to use both of them. In fact, you should not use both together. That will create duplicate events. We recommend, if you're a cloud customer, then you start looking at Data Manager, and slowly moving towards Data Manager. The cloud TAs are still required for SIEM. So if you're using, if you have use cases which most customers have for security events for the common information model, then the SIEM model happens through the TAs. But in general, for the ingest, you should start looking at Data Manager. It just makes your life easy, because the time to value is in minutes, as I mentioned before. it's a centralized platform, so like you just go to this one place to configure all your cloud data ingest. Easy to scale. Like I said, in GCP, we have integration with GCP organization. Soon we are going to add even support for AWS organization. So if you have the need to onboard hundreds of data from hundreds of accounts in AWS, that would be easily possible. And then as new accounts get added, ingest from those new accounts also happens automatically without you having to manually go and configure that, because AWS gives that ability to do that. Improve performance. It's a cloud native technology, and the focus has definitely been heavily on making sure we can ingest large amount of data at a good rate. No real cloud expertise required. We provide you clear steps on how you need to run these templates in your environment, and trust me, it takes only a few minutes to for your infrastructure to be set up in your cloud environment. So it's that easy. And then you always get immediate access to new cloud data sources. The key about Data Manager is that Data Manager is an inbuilt application, so it's available in the cloud platform. You don't have to worry about upgrading Data Manager or updating the app at any point of time. We take care of that for you. So as and when we add new features, those new features will be available immediately in your in your cloud instance. Without you having to worry about, I'll have to adopt a new version of the app and worry about the upgrades and downtime. Nothing of that sort. All that goes away with Data Manager, because we make sure that everything works smoothly, and then we push these new features out in rolling releases, so that customers, at least on the cloud platform, get access to the new capabilities immediately as they're available. So key takeaways, I would say, go and try Data Manager today if you haven't already. Definitely give us feedback. We'd love to use more, love to learn more about the use cases. We use the Ideas portal, as Malini was mentioning, for capturing new requirements, new use cases. We review that, on a periodic basis. And then, of course, here's a link to learn more about Data Manager. It points to a blog that we published. And then there are many blogs out there now. There's also public-facing documentation. You can just look for Data Manager for Splunk Cloud, and links will pop up. There are also conf presentations out there that you can sign up for and watch, where I'm presenting in more detail, and also giving real demos of configuration of Data Manager, how the ingest flows. So all those things are available today out there. And yeah, definitely looking forward to your feedback and hearing more about your use cases. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Is there? I've got a ton of questions. So we use the TA for most of it, and we have been talking about migrating over to Data Manager. And is there some documentation that identifies what the existing gaps are? And this goes back to some of the ideas, questions about roadmap and things like that too.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the best way to look at what we support in Data Manager versus in the TA is I can point you to two public-facing documentation pages. They both talk about data sources, right? So that will give you an understanding of which data source is supported where, and you can just basically go by that and see if Data Manager covers your use case or not. But we specifically mentioned, for example, in Data Manager, we've listed all the data sources that we support, and a similar page exists on the Cloud TA side as well. So I can find that and send over as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Mm-hmm. And then specifically on the metadata, in the TA, it's historically been very, very slow on adding new resources or resource types. Is there any strategy to how that is being managed in Data Manager? So, for example, we're starting to use EKS, but none of that cluster information is coming in through the TA, and so we've got to figure out our own way to pull that information in, things like that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because I just spoke to a customer today morning about that. We are actually building that out in the TA as well. So with Data Manager, we are not stopping investing in the TAs. As I mentioned, on-prem customers will still use TAs. So in the TAs, you'll see, new metadata for new resources being added in the coming months. I've actually, zeroed down a lot of resources, so we are going to continuously add that. And then, of course, the goal is, as we add it in the cloud TAs, we'll also add those in Data Manager. The only I guess the difference would be in Data Manager, because we have to cover a lot of ground already. So we're trying to focus on the key capabilities that a lot of customers are blocked by. For example, AWS organizations, right? S3 was one of those which are major use cases, and customers feel like if they have organizations already, then setting up and going ahead with data management becomes that much easier. So that is what we're focusing on right now, and then we'll go back and look at adding more metadata and enhancing the existing data sources as well. So yeah, I mean, happy to review that and look at that, but that's how we are right now prioritizing new sources in Data Manager.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you.
That was great, Slay. Are there any other comments that people want to have for either of the speakers or anything user group wise? No? I think this was a great way to end the year with two great speakers. I'll be contacting the speakers to get your slides, if I could. And if you don't mind, if I usually publish a PDF link to SlideShare. That way people can have slides if they want. And we'll publish the recording as well. So I think we can end the meeting, and we will see everybody hopefully in person. I'll be announcing the meeting either the first or second week of February. That's the goal right now. So thanks again to the speakers and everybody for coming, and have a great holiday, and I'll see you all in February, hopefully. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks,
Happy
Melanie.
holidays.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you.